Let's do it.
Let's do it. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. And welcome back to Unreadable. This is week number 5. And actually, we have some things to talk about this week. We didn't make as much writing progress, although what I'm imagining is in the next couple of days we'll make more writing progress. And part of the reason for that is we did switch software. If you saw last time we did a video, an update video, we talked about using Reedsy's Writing Studio, which we're going to show you more of in a separate video. We'll actually do a full demo of that and show you how it all works. But so part of that was we were switching to that. So we moved some characters and other information over to that software. And we had the big launch of Plot Geek Academy. And so we've been just a tad bit busy trying to scramble for those things, including the fact that we've got an info stack going on this week. We'll talk about that in just a second, too. So anyway, but CJ, so first of all, let's talk about Chapter 13, because Chapter 13 kind of provided a conundrum for you because we weren't quite sure where we were going.
Right.
Yeah.
So I knew, well, I have question marks when it comes to the tattoo and the codes, because that is more your domain, because you have this really, you're doing the research for that solitaire code. And I was like, I have no visual of how exactly this is going to look. So I was like pinch hitting. I was like, here's a card, ace of spades, few numbers. And I put it in there knowing that Troy would fix it. So I threw that in there, but also I was fuzzy on the idea. Is there going to be a tracker? Where is it going to be? Are they going to find it in this chapter? And so those events were a little bit fuzzy, but I was like, just get words on a page and then Troy can steer me correctly once he goes over it and finds the issues and where we're going from here. So it was one of those things where there were issues of fuzziness. And so we needed to just coordinate back and forth and figure that out. So chapter 13 was also written at the height of my exhaustion. And so I'm not even sure that I think there were sentences that were actually missing words, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Troy going in there and he's like, we should add a word here. This sentence will make more sense.
Yes, for sure.
Yes.
Well, yeah. And the thing is, truth be told, this is part of the beauty of collaboration is, first of all, that you can go in and fix each other's stuff when somebody's exhausted. Because to be fair, we both had large pivots in our lives. We have either personal health issues or health issues with people around us. And we're going through lots of stuff, lots of changes, right? So we just, I mean, the fact that we're still putting words on the page at all is kind of a miracle in some ways. This could be one of those times when it'd be really easy to pivot and just stop writing for a while, except for we got this looming deadline, so we can't do it. And the other thing that's happening to me is because of this pivot, I am falling in love with my own writing and some of the writing and stuff that I'm doing again, which is absolutely fabulous. It is absolutely, I am just loving it. But so, and part of chapter 13, so the Ace of Spades does have significance, which I think I had told CJ, but I don't remember if we actually put it in writing anywhere.
Indeed, you did. You told me.
Part of the thing.
Put it in. I did actually label a card. So
I'll explain a little bit of the background of that and the reason I used Ace of Spades and the reason I used it in a solitary series of short stories that I wrote, which I still need to gather up and publish into something. But anyway, part of the reason is in Vietnam, the Ace of Spades was a card that they figured out the Ace of Spades was very superstitious for the Vietnamese people. And it meant death, basically. And so they actually wrote to the bicycle card company and created entire decks that all they had were Ace of Spades. And then when they went into villages, they would spread them around, or they would spread them out of helicopters. So they flew over different areas and stuff like that. And the locals would find Ace of Spades and think, this is bad stuff, this is death, right? Type things. So anyway, so that's part of the reasoning behind that. So that's part of the reason I made that an essential part of the code, but also I added the Queen of Clubs just because I wanted Harper to have her own card that was like a designation maybe that the FBI gave her and didn't tell her about or something like that. So anyway.
Well, that's cool. Okay, I like that.
I figured that'd be kind of cool. I threw it in. And then some of the things like basically CJ had, a series of numbers. I'm like, no, the code doesn't generate a series of numbers. It generates a series of letters. And we'll have a thing where we actually show exactly how that code works. I'll just basically walk you through creating a message and showing you how that code works. But anyway, but that's a whole other discussion. But the other thing that we did was we added characters. So what I wanted to do is show you really quick. I didn't add a lot of details to these characters, but I wanted to show you actually really quick what this looks like in Readsy Studio, which is what we've been using for writing. And here's what happens is you can create folders with different types of characters. And then, so what I did was essentially just created some of the major characters up here. You know, we have Harper, we have Miles, we have Mikey, and we have Rhiannon. We know about those characters, right? Because those are all fairly major characters. But then I put in as secondary characters Jordan and Ed, and those people that are a part of the story, certainly, but they're relatively, they're less important. But I also put Frankie and major characters, so I kind of feel like I need a different category here, and maybe I'll create that at some point. And then I created a category for minor characters, because in some ways, Cameron Westbrook, which is Miles Westbrook's father, and Patrick Quinn, who is Harper's father, and Mikey's aunt, they're actually kind of minor characters, even though it seems like Cameron Westbrook and Patrick, they are in the background, but they are not the ones that are the primary actors in this. They're the ones that are pulling some of the strings, and they're bad guys, but they're kind of hiding in the background. We don't have them super fleshed out because they're not spending a lot of time on screen. Same with Mikey's aunt, where some of these other ones are spending more time on screen. Now, Sarmand might be able to move down to minor characters or something like that, so we can look at what we can do there. The other thing that we found in this software, which is really cool, is that, and we haven't done a lot of our planning here, but we're going to move some of our stuff over from Plotter over to here, but you can pin something. So you can pin, let's say, the ordinary world, and then when I go back in to the chapter, whatever chapter I'm in, it tells me about the ordinary world and what I should be doing with this ordinary world thing, right? And so as we add plot elements to this, we can pin them like this, and then you can see that next to the chapter that you're working on. So that's a really cool thing too. Again, haven't done a lot with that, so I'm just using that kind of one as illustration. And then you can obviously come over here and unpin it, and then pin the next chapter or whatever it is that you're working on. So if you need to look back on something, you can do that. There's also locations. I've added some of the locations without adding a lot of details about them, but these are things that we are working with that are a part of the story, and so we can flesh out some of these descriptions as we go along. But anyway, so that's some of what we've been doing this week, is we added characters and locations that we didn't have previously, which is technically writing, but it's not writing. It's like we're redoing part of our planning, so we're moving into this new software that we're working with, moving things out of Plotter and into this new software. And it seems to be working out really well. There's still some advantages that Plotter has that this software does not have. So we're not totally abandoning having a Plotter file, but we're definitely changing where our focus is for some of these characters as well. And maybe next week we'll show you guys Novelio once we've developed that a little bit. We can tell you a little bit about a program that we're operating in beta that allows us to also do some really cool stuff with this anyway, with plots and characters and all that kind of stuff. But anyway,
I have to tell you real quick before we go, last week when I was doing the presentation for Apex and talking about secondary characters and subplots, I had them do a writing exercise asking really specific questions about like the secondary characters and their basically their hurts or their misbeliefs. And so I actually did that for Mikey. So I have some good stuff for us to add to Mikey. Yeah.
So we'll add that. We'll add that this week. Yeah, this is anyway. So CJ and I are having a lot of fun with this. First of all, we're making pivots in our lives. Second of all, we're making pivots in our writing career, and we're making pivots in software. So hey, speaking of which, one of our kickoffs for the Plot Geek Academy was a webinar on pivots. We really would love for you guys to check that out and check out our community and the things that we're building. We're working really hard, not only on our own writing, but on our ability to continue helping writers in the ways that we want to help writers, and helping you take your ideas from idea to finished draft. And really the idea of Unreadable is we are showing you how we are doing that with collaborative tools. So we're not doing this to show off, hey, look, we're writing a book and all the, that's kind of a secondary thing. Really, what we're doing is showing you, hey, we're writing a book, changing tools, doing things that you as a writer should consider doing. Okay, so that's just, anyway, that's part of the deal, part of our collaboration. So I think it's been super cool. For me, the fire is still there of this story, and I'm really excited by that. We're probably about 5,000-ish words from the midpoint, and I kind of have an idea what that might be, what that kind of
Oh, I'm
midpoint might
excited.
be, and what the dark moment might be. So I think, we need some major turning points, and we need to have these two separated for a little while longer, and then the real dark moment is there. I think there's kind of some debate that we can go back and forth about what we want to do with that dark moment, but I think there could be some dark moments where we're like, what's the worst thing that could happen to Harper in this story? And that's probably what's going to happen.
Oh, now
Probably.
Okay, cool.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. We're getting
Why
there.
does it excite me to just completely torture my
I know.
protagonist?
Same. I mean, I think honestly, part of the thing that we tell you is that if something terrible can happen to your characters in your book, you need to let it happen, because that is how characters grow, because that's how we as people grow. We are growing through the experiences that we're happening right now, which are not all 100% positive experiences. So we want to share with you the fact that this happens to us in real life, but we do it to our characters on purpose, because that's where our characters grow. And that's where they become cooler human beings and all that kind of stuff, and overcome those misbeliefs and things that we've talked about all along with Unreadable. So with that, that's our update for this week. It's a quick one. We don't have a lot to share with you, except obviously this new software that we're very excited about and this new venture that we're embarking on. But we'll have much more to update next week on Unreadable. And with that, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.